Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to Season 4 and episode number 533 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crier Media Network. Yeah! Today, recording day, is Thursday, December 12th. See, and today I can't get the day wrong because it's the 12th of the 12th.
This is true.
Every now and then there's a built-in failsafe. Yay me. All right. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him. Hey, Mr. Beaver A. And with me, as always, thank you, is our good friend, Mr. Grizzly, who I hope is more rested after a day of extra hibernation.
Not really.
It doesn't look so. Okay, the expression doesn't. Okay. Big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. Mr. Grizzly, how is your mental health today, sir?
Jury's out on that one. I'm not awake. I don't know how much sleep I got last night. I felt, honest to God, when the alarm went off, I'm like, didn't I just get here? I just got here. No, I had been here for a few hours. I wasn't restful sleep. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
So,
well, I'm sort of you yesterday, because unfortunately this week, for those of you who have been following for a while, know that I am a curler. And every now and then there are matches that start after 9 o'clock. This week, my Tuesday and Wednesday matches were 9 o'clock matches. So yesterday, well, the day before yesterday was a short night. But I felt good. But yesterday was also a short night. And I think I woke up 3 minutes maybe before the alarm. And it's like dark out. And it's like, I have a feeling that the alarm should be ringing soon. Or my first thought was actually, did I forget to set it? Because I'm so tired, I probably forgot to set it and probably slept right through. And I was sitting like this, but not wanting to be awake enough to actually roll over to check. So now I'm gonna, because if I'm right, then the alarm will ring soon. And if I'm wrong, then I get up to check, and then I flash a bright white light in my face, and then I'm up anyway. So I decided to stay in bed and gamble on the fact that I was right, which was not a smart decision when you think about it. Your first decision of the day. I think I'm going to stay in bed. Probably not but yeah, I literally just closed my eyes and a minute later, ding, ding. Oh, okay. Time to make the donuts. So I got up. Oh, man. Don't want to say a not much day, because there was stuff, but we are clearly in the distraction of the day mode coming south of us, right?
Oh,
51st state, and then we had Governor 51st state, and then Freelon Muskrat Love came up someday because the Prime Minister went to the Equal Voices event that we mentioned yesterday.
I don't know.
Right.
I didn't see yesterday's show. I was
Yep.
sleeping.
So just yesterday in passing, I was mentioning that places that certain of our politicians will be on the day, right? And one was the Equal Voices Gala. And Equal Voices is an organization that helps raise funds and to help provide support to women and gender diverse people who are running for public office. So Jagmeet Singh was there, Elizabeth May was there as well. Pierre was not. Equal voice women, kind of equal women, put that together. I mean, he couldn't be seen there. So, but he didn't go, but the other three were there. And apparently it seems that the Prime Minister made some comments about the U.S. election results, saying that, the United States had rejected its second candidate for president, female candidate for president. And then moving to the next sentence, that was sort of like, women's rights are being, affected all around the world, right? Quashed or can't remember. I wish I had the exact quote here, but I don't. There we go. I think I have it here.
Okay.
Trudeau's comments lightening Kamala Harris's election loss to an attack on women's rights and progress earned him criticism from the country's premiers and from who bought himself.
Of course, because none of them give a shit about this country.
Yes.
Not a single damn one of them give a shit about this country.
Who spent over $250 million, it seems, trying to buy a presidency.
Yeah.
Speaking on Tuesday night at an event hosted by Equal Voice Foundation, an organization dedicated to improving gender representation in Canadian politics, Trudeau said there are regressive forces fighting against women's progress. Quote, "It shouldn't be that way. It wasn't supposed to be that way. We were supposed to be on a steady, if difficult, sometimes march towards progress," Trudeau said, adding he's a proud feminist and will always be an ally. Quote, "And yet just a few weeks ago, the United States voted for a second time to not elect its first woman president. Everywhere, women's rights and women's progress are under attack, overtly and subtly." That was the controversial comment. So you have to understand what's going on here. It's the thing I keep on telling you, right? You got to stop thinking of the Prime Minister of Canada as just the Prime Minister of tiny little friendly, non-offensive, non-threatening Canada. He is the dean of the global centrist and progressive nations, and the most successful of these leaders.
Yes.
Loves success.
Yeah.
So all this global movement, this intense focus on Trudeau from the Indian government, from this government, it's a global. He is seen as the head of the snake. He is a really, really, really big deal.
Yeah. They try and play it down in the media in this country, and mainstream media in this country try and plays it down. And of course, the leader of the opposition tries to play it down and says we're embarrassing. And of course, what did asshole say yesterday about the bank rate cut? Oh, it's a panic thing because I'm like, he literally got laughed at in the House of Commons yesterday.
Oh yeah, and rightfully so. So, because if you have been following this show, Kids and Cubs, how many months now have we been saying that people all around the world have been asking the Bank of Canada and the US Fed, which started even later than we did, please start cutting the damn rates. You are behind the curve. So cutting by 50 basis points is now a panic when it's been like 6 months or so that people are saying, like, could you speed it up?
Yeah.
So they speed it up, and now it's panic. It's not responding to what the market is demanding. It's panic. Let's put that frame on it. He got laughed at. Rightfully so. Rightfully so. Did the US Fed panic when they cut 50 basis points last time?
No.
Like, come on, man. Dude. It's like, I keep on saying, man, ever since Trump was elected and the first real quote unquote threat comes, he has been showing that he is more ready for prime rib than prime time. He does not have the stuff. And I presented kits the other day. Yeah.
Not even close. He doesn't have the stones. He doesn't have the spine. He doesn't have the will or ability to actually lead. All he wants to do is rule.
Yep.
He does not want to govern. And he
Yep.
doesn't
And
know
it-
how to govern.
Yep. And if you missed, because you missed yesterday, I had presented some data at the end of the show that, according to Nick Nanos, as reported by APN and Bloomberg, on the metric of who is best to deal with Trump in January, Pierre Poilievre had an 11-point lead. That has shrunk to 2.
Well, let's have a look at him in the House.
After about like 2 weeks of tariff talk.
Yeah. Let's have a look at him in the House of Commons yesterday. This is classic.
Do not have confidence in him, nor does his own party or his own cabinet, nor apparently does the Bank of Canada, which today was forced into an emergency panicked rate cut to confront the collapsing economy. The governor of the bank said.
So the clapping seals in the background nodding their head to the thing he just got laughed at in the House of Commons.
Yes. Gee, who knew that the House of Commons came with a laugh track?
Well, this is news to me, right?
Softer than he expected it would be, and despite the fact that inflation is rising, that all 4 measures of it are above the target, he's being forced to cut the rates to save the economy from outright collapse.
Okay, again.
The inflation is rising to the Bank of Canada target of 2, not down to, up to the Bank of Canada.
And I love how
target.
he says he's being forced to cut the rates. Skippy. The Bank of Canada cuts rates, not the Prime Minister. No Prime Minister has ever cut rates with the Bank of Canada, ever in history.
But Skippy will want to if he becomes Prime Minister, just like Trump wants to in the United States.
You got to remember here that the Bank of Canada is an independent body.
Same thing in the United States. Yeah, Jerome Powell's came out a couple of times and said, I ain't going nowhere.
Okay, we'll continue with the laugh track.
When will the Prime Minister stop breaking the economy and call a carbon tax election so we can fix it?
Katie, you ain't getting a carbon tax for that.
Again, I'm going to ask members not to take the floor unless recognized by the chair. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
This is completely illogical.
Say that in English. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, he's just making this stuff up in a way you couldn't believe. Inflation has been within the target range of the Bank of Canada for over 10 months now. This is because we have been there to help Canadians with things like dental care, like a school food program, with investments that are growing the economy in a way that has brought down inflation and allowed the Bank of Canada to cut rates faster than just about any other G7 country. We are there for Canadians. He's the one voting against things.
So let's get into this. Let's dig into this for a sec here. The thing that is so disturbing to me is the fact that there is, according to polls, a large majority of Canadians that don't understand how the levels of government work in this country. They don't understand basic civics, as evidenced by the fact that in an election in BC, you had individuals voting for the Conservative government in BC because they wanted to get rid of Trudeau. A provincial election, which has nothing to do with the Prime Minister of Canada. Okay, that's really troublesome to me. Now, you take Pierre Poilievre rage farming and spitting outright lies in the House of Commons daily using his parliamentary privilege to lie to Canadians daily and continue to get away with it and never get called out for it. And I'm troubled by where this country is going. I'm troubled by the fact that in all likelihood, the Conservatives could win the next election. And boy, am I worried if Pierre Poilievre is the next Prime Minister. I'm really concerned. The man doesn't know a damn thing about how the world works. All he gives a shit about is ruling over us. He does not wish to govern. He will cut taxes left, right, and center, harming millions of Canadians. He said he would get rid of the Housing Accelerator Fund, the school lunch program, the pharmacare, the dental care. Is he going to axe $10 a day daycare? Probably, in most likelihood. He is going to hurt millions of Canadians and will do so gleefully while his puppet string masters in India and Russia and whatever oligarchs in this country rule over him will laugh all the way to the bank. And we, the vast majority of Canadian people, will suffer for this and then bitch and complain for the next 4 years because people are too damn ignorant to give a shit about learning basic civics. And it troubles me to no end because we will all suffer if he becomes the next prime minister. And he very much, well, let me rephrase that before I say it. It looks very much like the next government of Canada will be a Conservative government. I don't think Pierre Poilievre will be there. I think he will be removed before he gets to that position. But I do believe the next government will probably be a Conservative government. And I'm really hopeful that that is not the case. Because it's a cadre of barking seals who do whatever they're told. And so many of them, as you well know, Arnold Viersen, as an example, wants to take away a woman's right over her bodily autonomy.
Yeah, indeed. So, yeah, that's what we do. Hopefully enough people will listen and the word will get out and people will not be convinced, because that's not what we try to do, but will be armed with information. And when you get new information, the average typical normal person will alter views and plans and as a result. So that's about what we do. But yes, what Mr. Grizzly says, even though it's you can turn around and Mr. Grizzly warns us of this a lot, because it's eyes wide open time. Yes, and please don't interpret us as being dark and heavy, because that's not our personalities, right? We try to bring a little levity and humor to what's going on here, a little sass and sarcasm, because you gotta laugh or else. But we don't want the lightness we bring to take away from the seriousness of the situation that Mr. Grizzly reminds us of, but we also don't want to you to feel that this is so heavy and dark and inevitable that you are powerless. There's nothing
you're
you
not
can
powerless,
do.
though. That's the thing.
Right?
You're not powerless.
That's why we say democracy is something that you could do. You do, because you're not powerless. It's, if you don't want this to be the result, there are actual things you can do. Right?
Yes.
So, but you got to get started, because they've been planning for a long time. Our runway is a little shorter. So the Prime Minister is at this Equal Voices event, makes this comment. Freelon hears it, makes a comment of his own. Everybody loses their mind. Everybody talks about that. Right? It's the distraction of the day. I think Michael Deatter had a great cartoon about it the other day. So I will find it and I will send that to you, Mr. Grizzly.
Okay.
Because it perfectly
Sums it all up. Right.
When they say that a picture is 1,000 words, this one might have been 1,000,000.
Well,
okay.
Have you seen the clip of Elizabeth May in the House of Commons and discussing Pierre Poilievre and his security clearance and how he may be compromised?
Yes, I have seen that one. But
Because I do have that clip. I'd like to show that later.
Yes, we should show that one. And hopefully you have the one of Doug Ford being completely stupid yesterday.
Well, which one is that?
That's true. Pick a card, any card.
Doug Ford being stupid? So what?
I'm sorry. I should have known better. I should, especially with a pedantic co-host, I should have known to be more precise. That was my fault. I walked right into that brick wall. That was all me. Oh, man. So you have all this going on. There we go. I found it, Mr. Grizzly. I'll be able to send it to you. And
Are
that's
you
meant,
referring to
like I
Doug
said,
Ford? Sorry, I was going to say, are you referring to Doug Ford when he's talking about cutting off energy supplies to the United States?
yes, that's what I mean. We'll get there.
Okay, I have the clip.
Yeah, okay, that's the clip. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. Ugh, sorry. I'm coming
No,
with
that's
sound
fine.
effects. I come with sound effects today. It's that bad.
It's
So
horrible.
he's at this event for equal voices, and he's talking about women's rights around the world, in certain places, especially in many places, taking a step back. And this guy in the United States loses his mind. But yesterday, Amnesty International released a report with regard to what's happening in Iran. And starting today, and this was probably known to the Prime Minister when he was speaking at this event, so maybe added some context because, as you know, Canada has a extra special non-relationship with Iran. Because we don't even have an active embassy there, because Stephen Harper decided in his great wisdom that the best way to be effective in Iran and to have any influence at all was to totally leave it.
Yeah.
And then, there's that Ukrainian Airlines flight that went down, and now we can't really do anything about it because we have nobody there. Great move, conservatives. Isolation.
Yeah, wonderful.
So, starting today in Iran, women who do not observe the country's strict hijab laws could face the death penalty now.
Yeah, okay. So wear this thing on your head or I'll kill you.
Yes, the country's beginning to implement a new chastity law at the time where there's increased resistance by women. Now, there's a lot of women out there that are saying, listen, we've had hijab laws for God knows how long, or for Allah knows how long. We've resisted before. We're resisting. This ain't going to stop us. I mean, we've just had enough. But Amnesty International's senior campaigner for Iran says that the 74-article law set to come into effect on Friday, tomorrow, are draconian. Quote, the law also has a provision where private businesses and private entities, if they have women and girls on their premises who are unveiled, they could face fines. This is an effort to force private entities to also surveil and police the bodies of women and girls. And in the United States, didn't they have something similar in Texas? If you suspected that I'm not sure if it was Texas or another state, but if you suspected that somebody had done something with regard to an abortion or helping someone to get to an abortion, and you could claim it and bring the case forward and it was proven, you would get a cash reward, which is a way to create a situation where everyone around you is a potential snitch.
Yeah. And
put the responsibility for enforcing the law on the actual public rather than, which legally is a big no-no, by the way. So, yeah, that's that type of move. So all of that was taking place in that context. So we are mentioning this in passing to point out that that's a distraction of the day type comment. And do you have the visual, Mr. Grizzly?
I'm sorry?
From Mr. Diatter?
Did you send me the link?
I believe I did.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm going to pull it up now.
Right.
Just give me a second.
So again, in the United States and also just in Canada with conservatives often, right? You've got the big shiny thing that's in the window today, and then what's really going on.
Yeah.
So 51st state, governor of the 51st state, he's a tool. That's all that.
Yeah. Yeah. This
Right?
is just
and when you mentioned, and then when you mentioned, earlier, Mr. Grizzly, about Pierre Poilievre speaking about the prime minister, you notice how Pierre Poilievre's tune has changed, because for the better part of 2 years, Justin Trudeau was some radical strongman tyrant who had everybody under his thumb, was forcing you to live in ways that were unfree, who controlled global inflation and oil prices. But now Trump's elected and our prime minister is so weak.
Yeah.
So weak. 2 years telling us that he's so strong that it's like, oh my God, it's like we have to stop him. He's just this incredible force. And now he's so weak. Mr. Grizzly, do you remember something about saying that someone is too strong and too weak? That they're clever enough to control the global price of oil and inflation such that, and interest rates such that they crush you personally, but they're still too freaking dumb to work a toaster.
Mm-hmm.
That, kids and cubs, that whiplash you're experiencing, that's fascism. Boom. Umberto Eco's list of the 14 common features of fascism, number 8 will shock you. The enemy is both strong and weak. Quote, by a continuous shifting of rhetorical focus, the enemies are at the same time too strong. He's taken away your freedom, and too weak. Surrender everything to Trump. He's destroying the entire country. He can't stand up to Trump is so strong and masculine. And oh, how will Trudeau ever? That's why you need to vote for me, because I do CrossFit.
Do you need a fainting couch? Would you like a fainting couch?
I tell you, sound effects today. All right. Dumbass Dougie Donuts.
Well, let me just before we
get to Elizabeth Bay.
Yeah. No. Before we get to Dougie, I gotta share a thing with you from the Beaverton, because
please.
I think this is unbelievably accurate, and this is Dougie. This is a Dougie move. Ontario passes bill allowing bike paths that lead to walls with tunnels painted on them. Right. Because we all know how unbelievably accurate that would be with the Ford government. I'm like, oh my dear Lord. Oh my dear Lord.
I can see the cartoons like Roadrunners coming and like paints it, runs away.
And then watching all the bikes pile up. Okay, so we're going to get to the clip of Doug Ford yesterday. This is this was yesterday, I guess, at about 5:30 p.m., something like that. Speaking after the first managers meeting, and just okay, this is just
let's make no mistake about it. As I mentioned to the Prime Minister, the rest of the premiers, we need to be ready. We need to be ready to fight. This fight is coming 100% on January the 20th or January 21st. But we'll use every tool in our toolbox, including cutting them off energy that we're sending down there. Folks, this is coming. It's not if it is, it's coming. And it's coming January 20th or 21st. And we need to be prepared. We need to stand as a country. We need to stand united as Canadians and work hand in hand and shoulder to shoulder with our colleagues across the country. And we're ready to do it. We'll use every tool in our toolbox to fight back. We can't sit back and roll over. We just won't as a country. We never have. Let's make no.
So here's what I'm thinking. Dougie just sounded like the typical athlete being interviewed after or during a game. Well, we got to play a north-south game. We got to give it 150%. We got to pull everything out of the magic box. He just keeps
premier football coach.
Yeah, although it was his brother that was the football coach, but still,
yeah,
he sounds exactly like that.
Or the kid that's asked to do the book report but didn't read the book.
Oh yeah.
Well, there were words, and there was a plot. Then the hero couldn't get what they wanted, and they had to like overcome some difficulties,
I
and
went to high
they
school
almost didn't get it.
I
Like
went to
it
high
was
school
really
with a guy who I shit you not he lives in Tennessee now, and he has several car dealerships. He's very wealthy, and he's done very well for himself, and he's a big Trump supporter. He's from New Brunswick originally. I won't say his name here, but he might be watching. But you know who you are. And he actually in the secondary 5, so grade 12, I guess would be in Quebec, he wrote a book report on a book that didn't exist. He created the title, A Gentleman and a Scholar, and wrote a book report on a book that does not exist. And the teacher knew it, but he loved his gumption enough that he gave him a B+. Because he's like,
well, he did write a book report.
well, here's the thing. It's like, when you do the book report, you have to cite the title, the author, the publisher, all of that. Well, he created all of it out of thin air. And the teacher was like, you know what? I know this is not a real book because your publisher and all, none of this exists. But here's the thing. Your creativity shows me that you have a unique mind. So you're getting a B+ for this.
Now, let's take that your unique mind and steer you this way so you use your powers for good rather than deception.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, again, like I said, he's wealthy, so of course he would support Trump because it's wealthy people are benefited by Trump. Same as wealthy people will be benefited by a Pierre Poilievre government, just like wealthy people are benefited by a Doug Ford government. Not so sure about a Danielle Smith government, if she's benefiting the wealthy or not. A few oil barons, sure, but most people, I think, are suffering horribly in Alberta because of her stupidity.
128% increase electricity rates.
Yeah.
And, as a year over year, recorded last July.
Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, dumbass Dougie Donuts came on like this, planet again, trying to be the prime minister again.
It's not his job.
Once again, getting a lot of help. We were talking about David Wallace the other day, right? He said it's coming. Watch Doug Ford get a lot of help.
Oh, yeah.
He's been on Fox more than once now.
Yeah.
More than once. I guess, yes, he happens to be the leader of the Council of the Federation at the moment. So whenever there was another meeting yesterday, which creates an opportunity for him. But you'll notice that everybody in the media is going to him to ask him what he thinks about national affairs. Pretty frequently. I was listening to the newscasts yesterday, and Doug Ford's comments about what we should be doing with Trump came way before those of Pierre Poilievre's. If Pierre Poilievre's were mentioned at all in those clips yesterday, especially the clip where they talked about what Doug Ford had to say. In some of them, there was no mention of Poilievre at all. So, for those, again, we are not journalists. We have not investigated. We do not dig. We do not know whether or not there is a push whatsoever. But those out there who are putting out this narrative that there is a push and it is happening and it is going on to get rid of Pierre, maybe this is like astrology where you read it and then you think, oh yeah, this happened today and that happened. That kind of fits. Or maybe it actually is. We're seeing the push happen in real time. But Doug Ford seems to be everywhere all of a sudden, and he seems to have lots of ideas and opinions. Problem is, again, I'm so sorry, but dumbass bellied up to a microphone and a podium. And on December 11th, 2024, even though the president-elect doesn't assume office until January 20th, 2025, and though the CUSMA review, CUSMA review, I like to say NAFTA too, but review doesn't come up until 2020. You know what? I was wondering about that because here we say CUSMA and they say USMCA down the states. And I'm wondering, in Mexico, if they call it MUSCA or MACUTLAS to put the US last.
Maybe. Who knows? I don't know what the actual
they can refer
title
to
is because they keep changing it. They keep moving the goalposts and the chess
Well,
pieces. And,
the country that talks about it puts their country first
yeah.
in the thing. So the thing actually has like 3 names. That's why I just say NAFTA too, because it's just so much easier.
Well, and NAFTA makes more sense because it's the North American Free Trade Act.
Yeah. So, even though that review doesn't start until 2026, now, of course, we're dealing with a president-elect. That nothing means anything. Words don't even mean anything, really. So, you could tell, well, I know that's supposed to come for a review in 2026, but I want to review it now. Okay, for the mugger, let's review it now. Like, no skin off our teeth, right? So, but right now, as we are working, what we know to be true today is the man is just the president-elect, is not the president yet.
Mm-hmm.
According to something in the United States called the Logan Act, shouldn't actually even be negotiating future deals yet because there still is a president. That is a law, but it has never been applied and it has no teeth, just like the Hatch Act. I don't know why they even have it on the books, because it clearly doesn't matter. And everybody, and even though the entire world knows that there's only one president at a time, everybody is doing it anyway, right? I mean, he just had a meeting with Macron in France when he allegedly went for the unveiling of Notre Dame, but really to unveil fragrance. Which
fight.
I'm sure the man's fragrance smells like farts or what's in his Depends, and the woman's fragrance probably smells like the stale sweat that collects under your boobs.
Well, I mean, come on, look. Fight is the name of a fragrance. Now, if you've ever been in a fight, you know that what happens is your adrenaline kicks in and you sweat profusely and you don't smell real good. So
yeah.
Does fight smell like a fight? Because if it does, I want to be nowhere near it.
So, he's president-elect, doesn't come into office till January 20th, and the review is not supposed to start till 2026. Mm-hmm. Doug Ford steps out of the podium and says, we'll cut off their energy. That's a huge freaking card.
Yeah, no kidding.
Why would you tell the art of war? Why would you tell the enemy a year and something before you could actually even play the move? What the move is going to be? And why would you make the move one of the biggest moves that you actually have in your arsenal? Why would you throw that up that fast? And give them all that time to respond? Our reaction last time was a tit for tat, dollar for dollar trade thing. Every $1 of tariffs you put on our stuff, we put $1 of tariffs on your stuff. And we are going to choose things strategically. So we put it on Kentucky bourbon, for example, to make things a little tough for Senator Mitch McConnell to maybe influence his vote in the Senate, to have enough of his constituents come to him and go, hey, man, this is not cool.
You're hurting us.
Do something.
Stop. Yeah.
Right? So we picked ours strategically. That's what we're going to be doing again. It would seem that Chrystia Freeland has indicated trying to pull the mantle away from Doug Ford because there is only one frickin' federal government and he's not it.
Well, and again, we're not dealing with the brightest bulb in the Christmas tree here when it comes to Doug Ford.
But again, it's like, hey, Beulah, the drunken bull is slamming itself from side to side in the China shop again. Who? Again, I keep on saying, just shut the fuck up. You talk too damn much.
Yeah, well, he's not going to.
Who enters a negotiation 1 year and something before it begins and uses maybe their second or third largest weapon and say, this is coming for you, against the United freaking States of America and a psychopath who's just looking for a reason to have a grievance and a fight and not like you? What the fuck is wrong with you people? Shut up. You are not helping.
It's not going to happen.
Why? He's sitting there going like this. We have to form a plan and we have to form a team and Team Canada. Now, like this. And well, now, after I've said that, now watch me just pop off at the mouth. and freelance. He's literally saying we have to be Team Canada, trying to draw some maybe a distinction a little bit with Danielle Smith here on this one. We have to have a plan. We have to get ready. Well, thank you, Captain Obvious. We have to act as Team Canada and speak with one voice. Now watch me run off and do my own thing. Just someone, please grab this man and stuff him in the basement freezer that the Conservative Party of Canada put him in every federal election. Leave him there until the deal is signed. Shit. And on the other side of the nation, you got Danielle Smith yesterday making, I guess she changed her tune as well, because I remember her having a very different one than this, Mr. Grizzly. Yesterday, she was on the news saying, quote, "If we act like we're victims, then I guess he's going to treat us like we're victims." Flashback to 2 to 3 weeks ago. I got to move my camera to do this, but I remember her, I believe it is on Power and Politics and Power Play and CPAC's Primetime Politics. Camera a bit like this. We're looking up a little bit. A lot of extra dark makeup on the bottom, right? Little raccoon eyes, and like, we have to give Trump what he wants. The United States is so big, he could crush us. We don't have time to play Justin Trudeau's little games. Just
Yeah.
Looking up, supplication pose, dark eyeliner right here, make it look like maybe she had been crying a little bit or she'd been working really hard, was a little tired. We can't have Justin. I'm not sure Justin Trudeau is strong enough to lead us. We can't have nice hair, socks. Justin Trudeau leading Canada in this important trade negotiation. Oil is at stake. My oil is at stake. And Trump is, again, so big and strong and masculine.
Please stop. I'm going to vomit.
And that he could do what he wants with me. With us. And we just need to give him what he wants. If we act like we're victims, then I guess he's got to treat us like we were victims. You were the one presenting belly. In all of this, the Prime Minister and Chrystia Freeland and whatnot have not presented belly. They have been calm and cool. I said, okay, we need to prepare for this thing. Some things. We know he's a wackadoodle. We know he says a lot of things. I guess Justin Trudeau made a comment the other day that was, if you read between the lines, it's like, we know something like, we know that this is a relationship that requires a lot of care, and we will do that. In other words, he's really, really high maintenance and a stage 5 clinger.
Well,
it's like, we know who he is.
Well, it's not like he's never dealt with him before, right? I mean, this is not new. He's done this before. He knows how to do this. And somehow you people are convinced that Pierre Poilievre is the man for this. And I'm like, what? In what world is he the man for this?
What world has he ever been the man for anything? Where in the 2 decades or so that we have seen him, I guess, has he ever been the statesman, rallying guy, calming things the F down?
Yeah. No.
He's the guy who shows up at the party with a gas tank and a match and goes, whoa, with Pink in the background going, let's get this party started. He's not the guy.
He never has been the guy. He never will be the guy, ever. He's just a minion, puppet for, well, as it turns out, Russia and Modi and
you could put all the favorite dictators on a wheel and just spin. Who are we shilling for today?
Well, and let's
big money, no Iran. Stop.
he's a puppet of Stephen Harper, who was a puppet of Preston Manning. They're all just reformers. They're not even conservatives. They're reformers.
Like, the Russian nesting doll
Mm-hmm.
concept, except it's like some guy up with a hand up someone's back who has a hand up someone's back who has a hand up someone's back. That's what the cartoon visual would be. Now, on this front, Evan Scrimshaw wrote something the other day with which, again, I must say, I am in extremely violent agreement. Because I cannot think of anything more pathetic than what Canadians seem to think would be standing up to Donald Trump. Thomas Lukaszuk, a former deputy premier of Alberta, called Trump's latest annexation salvo joke something that, quote, must concern us all, and that, quote, cannot be tolerated. There are various ideas that the election of Trump should somehow force a Canadian election or some united force to fight the American threat together, and my response to all of it is to be shocked that we're all so fucking pathetic.
Mm-hmm.
What the Liberals are doing is very good. This is not a criticism of them or of the idea of a Team Canada approach. Getting the Premiers, business, Labour, and the opposition all on the same page, or at least in the same loop, is great. This is not a criticism of this government, mostly because this government isn't really doing very much in response to these comments, which, to be clear, they shouldn't. Because they're not real yet. It's just stuff he says.
Mm-hmm.
You take it into account, you go do your contingency planning, but you don't react, you don't reveal what your strategies and tactics are, you don't show your hand, you certainly don't do anything to provoke them. You just go, oh, well, that's nice. And then you take the notes and you go back and you do the work quietly to bring it out when you need it, not for show in the cameras today because you need to make the frickin' news. Dumbass Dougie Donuts.
There's never been a camera that Pierre Poilievre didn't love.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the reason they shouldn't is that if we are actually a real, mature, independent country, then you don't need to keep consistently reminding people. Just like if you're an alpha, you don't have to say it because it's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing for being a Christian or a patriot, by the way, or smart. You don't have to keep on telling me you're smart. If you are, I think I'll be able to detect it. It will be obvious in the way that you carry yourself. Here's the problem for those asking for extraordinary measures or big speeches or any form of unusual response. If we're really a proper country, then the democratic, peaceful choice of an allies people is not a national crisis. If it is, you are not a proper country. In other words, the fact that the Americans chose Trump for themselves does not necessarily constitute a crisis for us. So how about we borrow a page from Tay-Tay? You need to calm down. You're being too loud. Like I'm saying, violent agreement because I'm feeling all of this, what he's saying here.
Mm-hmm.
If it is, you're not a proper country. It can be a problem, but this notion of a true crisis is absurdist nonsense. But more importantly, it's a sign of whether people want a government that makes them feel good or one that can actually manage the problem of Trump's election. Boom. And I know the last thing we need is nonsense pandering designed to make us feel good. There's really no way to talk about this honestly without just being blunt. Those people who want us to scream that hashtag, actually, we are independent and won't be trampled with, at every provocation, when you're dealing with a frickin' provocation machine of the Trump transition, have some of the most truly pathetic small dick energy we've ever seen. It's a hot dog hollering. It's people deeply insecure about something, taking that insecurity out in fits of nonsense designed to convince people of something that's very obviously not true. One of those things being that they're actually in the position and have the stuff to lead the nation or a province or a city. When it's a guy loudly proclaiming, when it's a guy loudly proclaiming that they get laid whenever they want, despite no evidence otherwise, we get it's overcompensation. We understand this in a social context, and yet a number of Canadians seem to want the Prime Minister to loudly proclaim that we don't need America, with the same seriousness and credibility of a Leafs fan claiming that it's actually their year this year. Actually, As an aside, he puts in, actually significantly less seriousness and credibility, the fucking 2021 Habs that only made the playoffs because of the dumb bubble rules made of finals and haven't even sniffed a playoff spot since. Winning the cup is actually much more realistic than what these idiots are proposing. Ouch. What the government is...
That's what we call a zinger.
What the government is doing is what people who actually have the asset or attributes that are under discussion do. They don't focus on winning the public debate. They focus on achieving outcomes. And as critical of the federal liberals, sorry, I'm having trouble reading today. And as critical of the federal liberals, oh, that's why I missed the word as. And as critical of the federal liberals as I am these days, on this front, they're doing everything seemingly right. I spent most of Monday's podcast with David Coletto, critical of them, but here they're absolutely in the right. Let's say Trudeau comes out today, flanked by whoever you like, all the premiers, all the party leaders, a group of esteemed Canadians, or even all of the above. He stares down the camera, puts on his best serious voice, and says that Canada has won a war of southern aggression once before, and that if need be, we will fight one again. He says that Canadians may respect America, but the fundamental glory of Canada is in its learnings from both American success, but also American failure. He says that we will not subjugate Canadians to any nonsense from a wannabe authoritarian. What happens the minute after he's done giving that speech? I'm sure a bunch of idiots will feel better about themselves, including the former deputy premier who once accused the UCP of gerrymandering districts that were actually redrawn during the NDP term by an independent commission who started their work before the UCP existed. Was that strictly necessary? No. It's worth adding to shit on him. Yes. Oh, Evan, Penny's your favorite color too. It would get a reaction from Washington, including from the famously volatile president-elect who is known for having enemies. It would do no good except in making some of us feel better. I don't know this, but it does seem likely to me that Trump's continuing with this line of provocation in large part because it's not getting a response from us. Annexing Canada isn't happening, and a serious or credible attempt at it isn't either. There's no universe in which an admin with the active crises it faces in Ukraine, Israel, Gaza, and Syria, plus the cold but important conflict in all but name with China, would ever muster the theoretical capacity to plan such a strike, let alone actual capacity to attack. You have Elon and Vivek agreeing with Bernie Sanders that military spending cuts are on the table in their fake not a department, called that our friends at the Daily Show called the doggy instead of the Doge. But they're going to invade and annex Canada. Sure. If it seems like I'm being dismissive of all of this, it's because there's actually been a clear pattern to what Trump will and won't actually do in office. People love to point to January 6th as some evidence that he could do anything in the future. But even then, it's always been the case that Trump's bark is bigger than his bite. He loses interest in ideas that bore him easily. He is easily persuaded by the most recent person he talked to, and he has no core ideological convictions. He wants power. And he mostly shirks from fights that will make that harder. To the extent that January 6th deviates from that, which I don't think it actually does, it does so in that Trump felt he had nothing to lose from it. The idea that Trump is actually prepared to waste any political capital on an idea that would plainly end his administration before it begins is laughable. But engaging in the dumbassery of many would make the actually genuinely terrifying prospects of economic pain more real. What people cosplaying as defenders of Canada are actually proposing is a policy that will make us feel better and immeasurably poorer too. It's un-Canadian. And to get a hint that what Evan is saying here about Donald Trump shirking from fights that make getting more power harder, just look up what's happening right now in the United States. He wanted Rick Scott to be the leader of the majority in the Senate. The senators said, no, we want this guy instead. He asked for Matt Gaetz to be his Attorney General. The House said, no. So we have Pat Bondi instead. Yes, who's not much better, really. She was the person that was attorney general or something like that in Florida when the Trump, one of the Trump charity cases came to pass, and she received a $25,000 donation from the Trump campaign, and suddenly there was no need to investigate that thing in Florida.
Funny
some
how
reason.
that works. Huh?
But, and now she's the AG.
Wow, I can't understand how that all worked out like that.
Mm-hmm. And then his
What we call a quid pro quo, kids.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You have to do me a favor though. Then oh yeah, apparently there was a $100,000 thing to RFK Jr. as well, just before he joined. Well, and you know what? Even if it is buying a vote, look at the Supreme Court he's got now. He's fine. So I mean, what's the point in prosecuting it, right?
Yeah.
Like and like he would have a Department of Justice that would prosecute it because the now Attorney General made a investigation into a criminal case and him disappear for $25,000 allegedly. Can't say she did that, but the $25,000 happened and then the case disappeared. Maybe there's no link. I guess it's statistically possible. I mean, he was found guilty. The foundation was found guilty in court, though. But maybe in Florida, that was legal. Who knows? Maybe. So, and then his DEA choice pulled out, not because he had done something terrible that involved children, like many of his picks seem to have done, or women, but because as sheriff, he dared enforce COVID policies.
Mm-hmm.
So he couldn't lead, so he pulled out. And then the Secretary of Defense.
A lot of pulling out going on.
Mm-hmm.
These guys watch a lot of porn.
A lot of never should have been put in going on in the first place. Keep it zipped, fellas. Keep it zipped. So, jeez, I'm just saying. So he apparently is going to fight for it, but he's well, we've talked about him. He's being told no a lot, and he isn't flying off in fits of rage. Always pay attention to sudden new behavior. I think maybe that's why he's punching on us so much, because he can't punch back home. Because he knows he just has a couple of seat majority in the House if he wants to get, and he knows there's at least 6 to 7 senators, not all collectively, but on any given thing, just may not be keen on what it is that he has to do, and he only has a 3. So I mean, he literally possibly another best thing that we can hope for is that he is so ineffective that he can only govern by executive order. He can't actually get any bills passed on anything. That would be nice. So, back to Evan. What the Trudeau government is doing is playing a very bad hand about as well as they can. They have certain assets, but we are a smaller, economically reliant country that relies on American goodwill as a replacement for genuinely innovative economic policy. We can fight about what extent the fault lies with Pierre Trudeau or Brian Mulroney or Doug Ford or Mike Harris or Chrétien or whoever the fuck another time, but right now we have to play the cards we have well. And what so many seem to want is counterproductive claptrap. If someone can articulate an actual path from Trudeau forcefully condemning these comments to a good outcome from Canadians, I'll listen to the case, but it doesn't exist. Now, for your sake, stop embarrassing yourselves. Or, shut up, you talk too much.
It's not going to happen.
You're not helping. That was a lot of pretty words to basically say.
Shut your trap. Shut your cake hole.
Get stuffed. Put this in your pie hole. Jeez. The premiers need to stop talking.
If only we could just say, guys, please, just let the boss take care of things. You're not the boss. You're the boss of this, not the boss of that. Please just take a seat, settle down, smoke them if you got them. Actually, we recommend you smoke them.
Smoke them, eat them.
Have a
What
gummy.
it takes are in your
something.
tea. Have a
Just
gummy. Yes.
chill the hell out, man, because you're doing damage. You're not helping.
We don't care about the delivery method. Just borrow, pay, follow the Greek goddess Nike, and just do it. Swoosh.
Just do it, man.
Just, yeah. These people. How can you assume? No, not assume. Assemble such a collection of dumb. But you know what? Make this meeting, virtual meeting with the prime minister and the premiers, a weekly thing where you get all this stuff off your chest during that meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Not in public. Not before cameras and microphones where he can hear you.
If only, right?
That's how TV works. They can hear you and see you. Stop negotiating in public. Did you not read The Art of the Deal?
Well,
not that I'm saying that you should maybe do deals that way.
No.
But
no. God, no.
Maybe before negotiating with a guy, read the book he wrote on negotiation to get an idea of his mind.
Yeah. There's.
Oh my God, these people. Okay.
I have the Elizabeth May clip. I have the full length clip. It's about 4
Please.
It's if you've not
should we save it for
yet.
Easter egg because it's really good?
Well, no. It's 4 minutes, so let's run it now. Let's run it now. Well, we have we're an hour in. We still have the attention of the audience. Let's run it now. I think this is not only revelatory but scathing.
On the matter of foreign interference, I wanted to make a few brief comments about the developments that Mr. Poilievre, without top secret security clearance, is going to be able to get a briefing. Il n'est pas une question, jamais une question, que c'est possible pour le chef de l'opposition officielle de recevoir un briefing de CSIS dans le cadre de renseignement non secret. Ce n'est pas une question. It was never a matter of debate whether the leader of the official opposition, Mr. Poilievre, could receive a non-top secret briefing. But the question for me, and this is something I haven't said publicly, but it needs to be said, now that we have more specific testimony as to what the nature of the foreign interference in the federal party leadership race was, if that's all there is, which we don't know, the only thing that gives rise for me to doubt whether Mr. Poilievre is in some way compromised is his refusal to subject himself to inquiry by CSIS and other aspects of our intelligence establishment to whether or not he is cleared to receive top secret information. In other words, c'est jamais une question est-ce que M. Poilievre est disponible pour les rencontres avec l'agent sécuritaire. La seule question, c'est est-ce qu'il est capable de réussir dans l'enquête sérieuse pour devenir quelqu'un avec le plus haut niveau de notre système sécuritaire pour l'intelligence. It's not a matter of receiving top secret security clearance if you ask for it. And I think in a lot of our coverage, there's been that assumption. Why won't he ask for it? Or even worse, why won't he get it? The only thing that, for me, represents a concern about whatever may be in Mr. Poilievre's background is his own decision not to subject himself to the review required to receive top secret security clearance. Having gone through that process myself, I know it's not a matter of ticking a few boxes. They really want to know, I've phrased it this way before, are you blackmailable? Is there something in your background that would mean you could be at risk of someone feeling they had something on you, you owe them something, and at that point, the intelligence community of this country that reviews top secret security clearance might say, no, we don't think you should have it. So Mr. Poilievre could clear this up very easily. It's his decision entirely. All the other opposition party leaders have cleared top secret security clearance. I'm not suggesting he wouldn't. The only thing that raises doubts in my mind about whether he is in any way compromised, either by foreign interference or by something else, is his own refusal to go through the process. So get that out there. Want to be very clear. I'm not making accusations, but Mr. Poilievre's conduct is troubling to me as a fellow parliamentarian. And again, not the first time I've been asking him in writing now since June of last year, please get your top secret security clearance. It may or may not be available to him.
I believe, I think Elizabeth May is currently currently in this situation. And you tell me what you think about this, but I think this is where Elizabeth May is right now.
Tried, and I tried even more. I cried, and I can't recall what for. I pressed, I pushed, I yelled and begged in hopes of some success. But the inevitable fact is that it never will impress. I've no more fucks to give, my fucks have runneth dry. I've tried to go fuck shopping, but there's no fucks left to buy. I've no more fucks to give, the more fucks I've tried to get. I'm over my fuck budget and I'm...
I think that's where Elizabeth May is right now, because maybe I'm wrong, but she really, I think that's where she is. I mean,
you have to also understand that Elizabeth May is a lawyer.
Yes, yeah. That's,
So when she's pointing to behavior, wow. I don't know if she does, but Elizabeth May seems to be talking like she knows something.
Well, this is what I believe is the case. She really is like, all right, I'm fed up. No more of this crap. She is going for blood and doesn't give a damn.
Well, she's mentioned this enough times that this is not like an accident, right? Like this is a bit of a mission.
She's gone there a number of times. So she's all but said, look, he's compromised. We know he is.
Well, and every time it's a little bit more. So that's the thing is this is strategic. As opposed to, because had Elizabeth May done what Doug Ford did the first time when she stood up to give her impressions of the report, she would have said all this stuff. And then Pierre did this, and we got to take it, right? She's been dosing it out.
Mm-hmm. Little by little. Yeah.
Drop. Will you go get it on your own? No? Okay, maybe if I tighten this screw a little bit, you'll go get it. No? Maybe if I tighten this screw a little bit. But nobody keeps bringing up a subject once every 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
If it's not really on their mind it's like, after 12 years in a relationship, I know that nobody brings up a subject. Somebody that keeps on coming back to something, it's because there's something that they want or need related to that. And Elizabeth May, on the issue of Pierre's security clearance, seems to be that person. And from what I see in the comments in the chat on that, and your comments, Mr. Grizzly, Elizabeth May, being one of the few adults in the room that we have left, is someone I have no problem at all with being seized with this particular issue. She tends to be thorough and meticulous.
I the suggestion from Elaine that we have her on the show, I would love to have her on the show.
Oh my God. I really would.
And again, let me preface this with, I don't see eye to eye with her on absolutely everything. And I'll never see eye to eye with any other human being on absolutely everything. It's just not possible. We have nuance. We have different lived experiences. So we're not going to see eye to eye on everything. But that's fine. We don't need to. We can still get along. We can still have a conversation. We can still be friends. I mean, last night I sat around with the guys in my Scotch and Cigar Club, and they said things that I completely disagree with. And at the end of the night, we're all still friends. You know why? You're allowed to have different opinions.
Well, yeah. And I mean, not only would we have a conversation, I mean, I have no ability to predict the future, but I have an impression that if we were to have Miss Elizabeth May on this show for a conversation, oh, what a conversation it would be. It would be meaningful. There would be substance. It would be completely convivial.
Oh, yes. Yes. It would be. There's no doubt about that.
Right? But, oh my God, the things that with what she knows about civics and parliamentary procedure and everything, oh my God, that would be a geek fest. Yes, but I mean, it would be a very interesting and stimulating conversation. There's no doubt about that. She's a person of substance.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
She's a person of substance, I guess, and consistently enough throughout her entire career, and she's had quite a lengthy career for us to be able to figure out what's a blip and what's a pattern with her, and she's solid.
Well, and let's remember that she was part of the progressive conservative government under Brian Mulroney.
Yeah.
So this fallacy that the Green Party are a bunch of tree-hugging socialists is just that, a fallacy. It always has been. The Green Party are progressive conservatives that care about the environment. That's their political ideology, always has been. And we need people to understand that. So when they say, well, we need to get the Liberals out, I'm like, then put the Green Party in. Because they're progressive conservatives. It's the only progressive conservative party federally in this country right now. And they actually give a shit about the environment because they know there is no planet B.
Yep, indeed. So, yeah, Pierre Poilievre, again, I have no reason to see that he's not just going to attempt to run out the clock on this one. So if that is the case, we are in a situation that we have to find out some way how to make it hurt for him to do so. Because it seems, listen, if it really is that he cannot pass it, he is not going to attempt to pass it at all. He's going to roll the dice. I'm ahead enough in the polls, and since the law is that I get it automatically as prime minister, I'm just going to roll the dice. Like, so I can definitely foresee a scenario where he doesn't cave on this. So if he doesn't cave on this, and let's say we do have up until October, it needs to be 10 months of pain. It needs to be 10 months of strategically and tactically applied pain to get him to cry mommy. If not in public, while slamming a fist down on a table at a private meeting. Because, like I said, he thinks he has this in the bag.
Oh, yes, of course he does.
So he is not going to go, especially if the situation is that he knows he cannot pass it. Because at some point, the PR hit from it becomes enough. Okay, fine, I'll go. But there seems to be not even a crack of light coming through the door that this is an avenue he's contemplating. So hopefully Miss May has a couple of extra tools or extra screws and her trusty screwdriver handy, and in a couple of weeks we'll come up with something more. But please, my God, please, someone table a bill. Table a bill. Make it law. If he won't do it on his own, force him legally to do it. And then if he still won't, you know. Especially if you do the two parts of the bill, not only make it mandatory for him to get it, but remove it as an automatic. So even the prime minister has to qualify via the oversight method. The fact that you are prime minister does not eliminate that anymore. Change those two parts of the law, and if he still won't get it, because there's no avenue for him to get it, even when he becomes prime minister, unless they get a majority and then they change the law back. But that would be telling.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
I'm concerned. This is. It's not enough to say this is not normal, but this is not normal.
No, it's
in any way, shape, or form. So, PNC Bio, I saw a comment from you earlier saying, I don't think it would stall the election for very long. Besides, the date is fixed for October. I believe they can call one earlier, but one has to happen by that date. Technically, actually, one does not have to happen by that date. In Canada, technically, under our constitution, it's 5 years between elections periods. So it would be highly unpopular and very, very controversial because it's never happened in my lifetime. But if the government is still sitting in October, they are actually not constitutionally required to do so. And while the fixed election date law we know has been written in such a way that it is, you can circumvent it with no consequence, because Harper did that and it was his law. So, but yes, it's I'm not saying that they're going to unbind themselves from the fact that it has to happen for October, but technically it doesn't have to. It's not a widely known fact about Canada that it's actually 5-year periods, because we've all sort of just agreed on 4. So, and using, I guess, the extra one for a buffer in case something could happen. For example, there's a natural disaster or something like this. Okay, we've got to delay it 6 months and you're still within the law or something. Maybe that's why. I don't know why they, you know what? I should probably ask Craig from Canadian History if he knows that, or get you why it is that we agreed on 4 years, even though our terms are 5. If there was a reason behind that somehow.
Yeah, I don't know what the, what the reasoning for that is.
Yeah, neither do I. Some big news here in Canada. There is a long-time injustice that is going to be resolved, it appears. And it involves the provinces of Newfoundland and Labrador and Quebec. Way back, I believe it is in 1969, or could be 61, but I think it's 1969, yes. A contract was struck between both provinces so that Quebec would buy power generated by a plant in Labrador on the Churchill River for 0.2 cents per kilowatt hour. Since that time, the contract has resulted in $28 billion going to Quebec, and sometimes resells the power to the United States because it's overcapacity. It has more electric power than it needs. And just $2 billion going to Newfoundland and Labrador since 1969. And the deal didn't expire till 2041. It seems that Premier Legault has admitted earlier this year that, this probably wasn't a really great deal for Newfoundland and Labrador. And he had visited the province earlier this year, and it seems that things started to change. And it seems that there might be a deal coming up, a renegotiated deal to split those proceeds a little more equitably. Now, 15% of Quebec's power comes from Churchill Falls, and The Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador, Mr. Fury, is facing a provincial election by October of next year. So, and the polls are very, very, very tight in Newfoundland. I think it's pretty much neck and neck. So getting a big win on a long-standing irritant, because the Churchill Falls, I mean, you've lived in Newfoundland for a few years. The Churchill's Fall thing is like part of, it's embedded in the folklore, right?
Well, there's Churchill Falls and Muskrat Falls, and both of them are, you know.
But you say the word Quebec in Newfoundland and Labrador.
Oh, yeah.
And somebody eventually is going to talk about Churchill Falls.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely going there.
It's like, they screwed us. Now it seems that the Innu population of Labrador have not yet been consulted on this, so there might be more to do there. But if this deal actually does go through as announced, it could create a situation where the province of Newfoundland and Labrador actually never has another deficit. That could be the value if they manage their finances well. Quebec has an interest. If people are wondering sort of like, well, why is Quebec getting out of a deal that's so profitable and good for them 17 years early, right? To pay, because Quebec will be surrendering some money here. Like this, not very many people surrender money willfully. So it seems that Quebec's on a mission to transition to a net zero economy by mid-century. So building electrical vehicle plants, and they want to be a hub for AI intelligence, and that's going to require a certain amount of additional power. And they want to make sure that they've locked in that 15% of power that they get, even if they're paying more for it earlier, so that they know they have it to plan these longer term projects. So it's like, we want to do all these things. We have an economic plan. We want to change by mid-century. 2024, we got 25 more years. Let's lock in this power that we're getting from this province to make sure that we have it beyond 2041, because our plan goes to 2050. And if that means we need to pay a little bit for now to ensure that strategically we have this secure in the knowledge that we're getting this power, it's worth it. So that would be Quebec's interest there. And for Newfoundland and Labrador, like I said, for the Premier, probably would be very keen to make a deal, because it doesn't suck going into an election being the hero who finally put to bed a, let's see, 31 plus 24 over 50-year irritant.
Indeed.
Right? According to the CBC's Alex Kennedy, details are expected Thursday, I guess that's today, on what could be a multi-billion-dollar agreement between Newfoundland and Labrador and Quebec to reshape the contract of the Churchill Falls hydroelectric project, a bitter point of contention for decades between the two provinces. Newfoundland and Labrador Premier Andrew Furey and Quebec Premier François Legault are expected to outline what Furey's government has called, quote, a historic partnership agreement at the Rooms Cultural Complex in St. John's at 2 p.m. Newfoundland time. The two premiers met in St. John's Wednesday night and had what Legault described on X as a working dinner. Writing in French, he said, "See you tomorrow with great news." In a post of his own on X, Furey described Legault as, quote, my friend, and said the two had had a, quote, productive discussion indeed. Sounds very promising. The announcement is widely believed to address the multi-billion-dollar Churchill Falls hydroelectric project, a majority of which Newfoundland and Labrador owns, but with the majority of the revenue flowing to Hydro-Quebec. Quebec pays just 0.2 cents per kilowatt hour for electricity from the plant and sells at vastly higher prices. In its most recent annual report, Hydro-Quebec said the average sale price for exported electricity in 2023 was 10.3 cents kilowatt hour. So they're buying it at 0.2. And when they have excess, they're selling it at 10.3. That's money that could be go to Newfoundland and Labrador, but they don't have the direct transmission lines, right? To go through Quebec to get down there. So that's why Quebec has been getting such a big cut. So, well, if it wasn't for us, you wouldn't be getting anything. So do you want $2.8 billion over the next 50-something years? Sorry, let's put it this way. Do you want 100% or nothing? Or 100% or more money than you ever dreamed of? Even though it's $2 point something billion to whatever we get, right? It's That's probably the deal at the time. So, okay, we'll take it. And then it's like a couple of years later, it's like, damn, we screwed ourselves, didn't we? So, but again, when you make a rest, so some is better than nothing. Take something, right? The energy was landlocked. It couldn't get there without the lines. That would mean electricity it exported was sold at 51 times higher than what it paid Churchill Falls. 51 times.
Ouch.
While the original agreement between the provinces expires in 2041, a renegotiated deal to renew the contract could be within reach, as first reported by Radio Canada on Tuesday. And think about the opportunity cost too. Had the deal been equitably done in 1969, with all that additional money, because if it would have meant enough money that Newfoundland and Labrador never would have had to run a deficit.
Right.
Interest payments on debt, all the things, the capital projects that they could have built earlier, instead of having to delay just add that up over the benefits of compound interest. Compound disinterest also happens. I'm not sure if compound disinterest is an actual term, but I think you know what I mean when I'm saying it in this case, right? It's so this, when you add up all the layers and over time and the compounding impact, think of how much further Newfoundland and Labrador could be ahead had that deal been drawn up properly the first time. Quebec and Newfoundland and Labrador officials have been meeting frequently for months with few details released. Fury, though, has maintained that any renegotiation has to lead to dramatically better results for Newfoundland and Labrador. Quebec needs to show us the money, Fury said. I'm pretty sure he didn't say it that way. Show me the money, Fury said in 2023. Legault himself has acknowledged that the deal needs adjustments. In February 2023 in St. John's, Legault acknowledged that the agreement, quote, was a bad deal for Canada's easternmost province, but he stopped short of agreeing with Fury that, quote, it was an injustice. Tony Wakeham, leader of the political opposition in Newfoundland and Labrador, said he was left in the dark on details on Wednesday. Yeah, because you're tied in the polls. The most important element on the periodic table, AH, the element of surprise. It's politics, dude. Come on. However, anything involving a new Churchill Falls deal would be significant, he said. Quote, this is a deal that's been in the face of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians for a long, long time, and I don't think anybody would suggest that it's been a great deal, Wakeham said. It has not been a good deal for Newfoundland and Labrador. And politically, since we're talking about strategy, if you happen to be a kid who lives on the rock, expect debate once the deal is signed to suddenly shift to not whether or not we should get a deal or not, but whether Fury sold out too easily. And I'm going to look into my crystal coffee mug and, the Conservatives will decide that Fury got too little. I predict.
Well.
I have powers. Wakeham also voiced concern about the timing of the announcement. Yes, the timing of the announcement. Yes, he questioned whether or not the deal could be used by Fury as an election ploy. Yeah. You don't need to question. You don't need to wait. Yes, it will, on account that he can call an election anytime before October 14, 2025. Hey, I just signed the deal. Yay, Andrew Fury's so great. You know what? Let's have an election. How does February sound? Hi, I hope you had a wonderful Christmas. Guess what? You all talked about the Churchill Falls deal during Christmas around the table, right? Yeah, how it's good that we did that. Yeah. You want to vote for me now? I look cute in this premier's chair.
I just don't know what to say some days. I really, I'm just so. I want to smack people.
I know. See, here's the thing about being a political junkie like this, and where the dichotomy with me is I'm an optimist, but you have to be one hell of a cynic. I'm fascinated by human behavior. I'm just, of course he's going to use it as an election ploy, but Wakeham said the deal needs to be more than a potential boost of potential prospects, setting the table. In addressing that deal, it simply can't be about the next election. It has to be about the next generation. And I say that because I think it's very, very important that we have a one-time opportunity here, and we have to get this right. What you want to bet? That tomorrow Wakeham is going to say that Fury got it wrong. Within the space of a couple of hours, he will have been able to analyze the entire agreement and how it will play out for the next couple of years and conclude that he got it wrong. Those calculators are going to be working overtime to figure that out so damn quickly. Quote, "We are in the driver's seat." No, you're not. So I want to make sure there are a lot of people out there who will want to have an opportunity to express an opinion and to weigh in on this. You're not in the driver's seat. Again, remember, the energy doesn't get there without the power. You're not. Look, the only reason this is happening really is because the Premier of Quebec has decided that, yes, we could still keep on collecting this till 2041, but we have other interests. Remember, right? Governments don't have friends. They have interests. And it's securing the province's energy supply well until 2050 and beyond. What's going on there? Both Wakeham and the NDP leader Jim Dinn were speaking on Wednesday, said openness and transparency have to happen in any negotiation. Wakeham called on Fury to immediately reopen the House Assembly come January so the contents of the deal can be explored and scrutinized. Oh, trust me, the House Assembly, obviously the House of Assembly will definitely be open come January. You don't have to ask for that. I'm sure Mr. Fury will be quite happy to do that. That's one of those things where you position yourself before something you know is going to happen and start demanding it to make it look like you provoked it. Jagmeet Singh's really good at that. Joe Gowdy, a former Tory cabinet minister and veteran political figure in Labrador, remembers when the deal was first signed in 1969. The 65-year contract came into effect 7 years later in 1976 and was subject of unsuccessful court challenges that Newfoundland and Labrador took to the Supreme Court of Canada. Quote, "There have been a number of attempts on the part of Newfoundland and Labrador to try and correct this unfair situation," Gowdy said. "It's going to be interesting to hear if there are compromises and what they are, and what the future might hold for any future dealings. Meanwhile, eyes will also be on the Innu Nation's role in any kind of agreement. Innu were not consulted in the original project's construction, which is built on lands they traditionally use. The area was also used by trappers, including in Gowdy's family. The Innu Nation has said they will prevent any new agreement without their consent. Quote, "They claim, and I assume their claim is reasonably accurate, that this is their historical land. There are Innu burial grounds and historic sites, but none of that was even thought about, I guess is the best way to put it," Gowdy said. Gowdy said he'll be watching to see how a new agreement will affect the current deal still in place and whether or not it involves any progress in developing the Gull Island project, a separate, undeveloped, and long-proposed mega project downstream on the Churchill River. So, a big historical announcement coming up.
Indeed.
Mr. Grizzly, do you have anything you want to bring?
I've got a few things here, actually, yeah. Just bear with me while I load up a couple of them. I had one here a second ago. Where did it go?
Okay,
hang on.
While you do that, I have a quick little thing.
Oh, no, here we go.
Okay, got it?
This is, I've got. It's 3 minutes and 42 seconds of ridiculing Pierre Poilievre for, well, being an ignorant idiot.
Do we really need
Pierre Poilievre, X's favorite outrage machine, once again proving that there's no tragedy too solemn to exploit, and no nuance too subtle to ignore. With all the subtlety of a foghorn in a library, Pierre has taken the cold-blooded murder of Harshandeep Singh and turned it into yet another act in his one-man play, Canada, a nation on the brink, blame Trudeau and those pesky NDPers. Let's start with the facts, Pierre. since you so often seem to misplace them. You talk about a violent wave of crime over the past 9 years as though Statistics Canada doesn't exist. While violent crime has seen fluctuations, it's nowhere near the apocalyptic levels of the 1990s, back when your conservative forebears were in charge. But why let historical context get in the way of a perfectly good scare tactic? Fear sells, and Pierre is nothing if not a salesman with a limited product line. And what exactly is your solution, Pierre? Oh, that's right, blame, deflect, and shout into the void. You scream about crime but oppose the very measures that reduce it. Affordable housing? You mock it. Mental health services? You ignore them. Community supports to address poverty and addiction? You dismiss them. It's as if your entire plan is to let the social safety net disintegrate and then gasp in horror when desperate people turn to crime. Let's not forget, Pierre, that under your watchful eye as a longtime politician, income inequality has worsened, housing has become a pipe dream, and services Canadians depend on have been gutted in the name of austerity. Yet here you are, standing at the rubble of conservative governance, pointing fingers at anyone but yourself for which your party is partially to blame. And then there's the pièce de résistance of your tweet. Thoughts and prayers. Oh, Pierre, your thoughts and prayers are about as useful as a comb in a windstorm. Harshandeep Singh's family doesn't need empty platitudes from a politician who weaponizes their grief to score cheap political points. What they need, and what Canadians need, are real solutions to address the systemic roots of crime: poverty, mental illness, addiction, and a housing crisis that grows worse with every passing day. But of course, solutions don't fit into your 280-character outrage machine. It's much easier to shout violent wave of crime than to acknowledge that crime is a symptom of broader systemic failures. Failures that conservative policies have often exacerbated. You don't fix crime by tweeting, Pierre. You fix it by building communities where people have access to housing, education, healthcare, and opportunity. But that would require empathy, vision, and leadership, all qualities that seem curiously absent from your repertoire. So here we are, Pierre, watching as you once again prove that you're less interested in governing and more interested in auditioning for the role of Canada's chief doomsayer. Harshandeep Singh's family deserves better than your performative outrage. Canada deserves better than your empty rhetoric. And honestly, Pierre, if this is what you call leadership, maybe it's time to take a seat and let someone with actual solutions take the stage. So, Skippy, your outrage is as predictable as it is hollow. Less a call to action and more a cry for retweets. If self-righteous indignation could solve crime, you would be Canada's greatest leader. Until then, Pierre, your thoughts and prayers would be better spent reflecting on your failures in public service, and we all know there's a litany. And maybe pick up a Statistics Canada report before you pick up your phone.
So that is at awfully.political on the TikTok.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
I thought that was pretty succinct, you know?
Yep. Yep, very good. I'm, no notes. No notes. That's good. I'm glad. I'm glad more other people are seeing it and putting it out there. Thank you for bringing that to us, Mr. Grizzly. Yesterday, the other being news, because yesterday we focused on money matters, and the Bank of Canada was announcing a rate cut, as Mr. Grizzly mentioned earlier in the show, and the Bank of Canada announced a rate cut of 0.5 basis points. Tiff Macklem said, today, we lowered the policy interest rate by 50 basis points. This is our 5th consecutive decrease since June and brings our policy rate to 3.25%. Monetary policy has worked to bring inflation back to the 2% target. Our policy focus now is to keep inflation close to target. Let me outline what we're seeing in the economy and how that's played into our decision. In the United States, the economy continues to show broad-based strength and inflation has been holding steady. The US dollar has appreciated against most other currencies, including the Canadian dollar. Canada's economy grew by 1% in the third quarter, which was slower than we expected. Recent data also suggests growth will be lower than projected in the final quarter of this year. Now, the thing about the dollar, because I mentioned it yesterday, that at the beginning of the year, our dollar was 76 cents, and that yesterday was at 70, and people are wondering if it will go below 70. Part of that is the Bank of Canada interest rate and the gaps between our interest rates, but part of that is just because the US dollar is just doing gangbusters against every other currency in the world right now. as well. So there's part of that would be happening. Part of this would be happening regardless of what the Bank of Canada is doing with rates. Growth in the third quarter was pulled down by business investment, inventories, and exports, but consumer spending and housing activity both picked up as lower interest rates started to boost household spending. That's very good. Canada's job market is still softening. Businesses have continued hiring, but the number of people looking for work has been increasing faster than the number of jobs. The unemployment rate rose to 6.8% in November. It has been especially hard for young people and newcomers to Canada to find work. A number of policy measures have been announced that will affect the outlook for growth and inflation in the months ahead. The most significant of these is reduced immigration targets, which suggest GDP growth next year will be lower than we forecast in October. The effects of lower population growth on the inflation outlook will likely be more muted because reduced immigration dampens both demand and supply in the economy. We'll have more to say on this when we release our next forecast in January. Other federal and provincial government policies, including a temporary GST break on some consumer products, one-time payments to individuals, and changes to mortgage rules, will likely affect the dynamics of household spending and inflation in the months ahead. Again, we will have more to say on this in January. As always, we will look through effects that are temporary and focus on underlying trends to guide our policy decisions. CPI inflation has been about 2% since the summer, and we expect it to be close to target on average. Over the next couple of years, we thought elevated shelter price inflation would continue to ease, and it has. And the downward pressure on inflation from goods prices has also moderated as predicted. We expect the GST holiday to temporarily lower inflation to around 1.5% in January, but that effect will be unwound after the GST break ends in mid-February. We'll be looking at measures of core inflation to help us assess the trend in CPI inflations. So here what the governor of the Bank of Canada is saying in this part is that prices for housing and lodging, not that they're going down, but the rate of inflation, the rate at which they're increasing is slowing significantly, which is good, as well as just hard goods, tables, furniture, clothes, that type of stuff. With the GST cut, inflation that went back up to 2% might come back down to 1.5 in January, and then when that disappears, so the numbers for February or March, we'll probably see inflation going up. So around that time, if Pierre Poilievre is once again screaming, "Oh my God, we're going to pot," it's not going to pot. It's just because the GST cut, which in certain provinces will be more than 5% if the provincial sales tax goes along with it, because it's back when it was gone. So just like if gas prices go up, our inflation rate went from 1.6 to 2 primarily solely on the basis on the price of gas. That went back up. It was abnormally low and then went up a little bit. While the upward and downward pressures on prices have been moderating, risks to the inflation outlook remain. Elevated wage increases combined with weak productivity could push inflation up, or the economy could keep growing below its potential, which would pull inflation down. In addition, the economic outlook is clouded by the possibility of new tariffs on Canadian exports to the United States. No one knows how this will play out in the months ahead, whether tariffs will be imposed, whether exemptions get agreed, or whether retaliatory measures will be put in place. This is a major new uncertainty. And this, I want to put this in contrast to what Doug Ford was saying, because it's coming, it's happening no matter what. It's a done deal. We're having these tariffs. We're still at the point where Trump is saying might happen. Now he's saying they will happen for sure. But we're still in the might happen phase. They do not happen until he actually imposes them. So we should not be acting as if they are already imposed. That's the problem with Doug Ford. And he's presenting it as an inevitability. Because it's not. He may have gotten a little bit enough. He may delay it. He may say, oh, you know what? You did enough right now, but I'll be watching. And I could do it again and just hold it over our head for a while to get us to like. There's lots of things you can do if you're Trump strategically and tactically with this thing to try to get people to remain destabilized and to try to make them get them to dance to your tune. There's not just, I've announced it, it's happening. And then, Lucy can pull the football. Look at all the things I got them to do and I didn't even put the tariffs on. Now I still have that in my back pocket to get more. Like this. That's a strategy, dude.
Yeah.
Stop walking into the room, chin up, ass out. The Bank of Canada, the governor of the Bank of Canada has it right here. No one knows how this will play out in the months ahead. So shut the fuck up.
Sorry, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I know. This is a major new uncertainty. To summarize, inflation is back to the 2% target and lower interest rates are beginning to pass through to stronger spending by households. Again, and the longer we wait to an election, the better people are going to feel about the economy because of that. But the economy remains in excess supply and the growth outlook now appears softer than we projected in October. With inflation back to target, we have cut the policy rate by 50 basis points at each of the last two decisions because monetary policy no longer needs to be clearly in restrictive territory. It's panic! Monetary with inflation back to target and 250 basis point interest rate cuts, so a full percent in the last two decisions, monetary policy no longer needs to be in clearly restrictive territory. It's not panic. It's just that the need is gone.
Mm-hmm.
The most Occam's razor, the most simple explanation is usually it. We want to see growth pick up to absorb the unused capacity in the economy and keep inflation close to 2%. The Governing Council has reduced the policy rate substantially since June, and those cuts will be working their way through the economy. Now, this sentence is very important. Going forward, we will be evaluating the need for further reductions in the policy rate, one decision at a time. So that's pretty much governor speak for don't count on any more 50. There will be more cuts, probably, but they'll probably all be 25 ones in the coming future. So unless something major happens. Now, people are suggesting that with the tariffs and whatnot, that the interest rate, which is now at 3.25%, could still go down as low as 2.5% before the end of the year. So that would be 3 more cuts at some point next year, depending on the impact of tariffs. And if the tariffs cause a recession, they could go down even a little more than that. But said, the 50 basis point cuts are probably no more for a while at least. In other words, with the policy rate now substantially lower, we anticipate a more gradual approach to monetary policy if the economy evolves broadly as expected. Our decisions will be guided by incoming information and our assessment of the implications for the inflation outlook. The bank is committed to maintaining the price stability for Canadians by keeping inflation close to the 2% target. So, yay! For those of us who decided not to lock in before the rates started going up last year, knowing that the pendulum swings one way and swings the other way, you are finally getting your reward
Finally.
for your patience. But yeah, that was the advice our mortgage broker gave to us, and we followed it. But I tell you, by the time our mortgage payments went from $800 and something a month to $1,400 a month, we were like, "Oh, dude,
yeah, that's
really
a huge jump."
Like this." But now it's okay. You were right, because we would have locked in earlier, and the lock-in rate is higher, so we would have been paying a higher rate. We paid a sharply higher rate for a shorter period of time than paying an actual higher rate, for the 2 full years before this started, and then not getting the benefit of the rates coming down afterwards because you would be locked in. So, and people in the mortgage industry are saying that right now, if you're in the market for buying a house, we might be at the sort of tipping point where variable rate mortgages again might be the more attractive option as opposed to the fixed ones. So just if you're in the market, don't necessarily be so quick right now to sign a fixed deal. If it was like last year, you probably would have wanted to lock that in for security, not knowing what was going to come. Especially if you did have the ability to ride out the interest rate increase. But now that they're going down a bit and still expected to go down for a while, and again, if the Trump tariffs provoke a recession, then even further, you probably would have a little leeway in that one in terms of your rate, and then you can always lock in at any time along the way. So you can wait till the rates get as low as you think that they possibly can't go any lower, and then lock in with the premium then.
Well, let's talk about Trump's tariffs and Danielle Smith's response to it, because I don't know if you've seen this clip yet. This
Probably not this one.
December 10th, so 2 days ago. Oh boy.
Heard from the Prime Minister yesterday. He was addressing the Halifax Chamber of Commerce, and he said, openly what's been discussed in meetings, that Canada would respond to U.S. tariffs with Canadian tariffs. Do you agree that Canada should be prepared to retaliate? And do you agree that it's important to send that message right now?
I think we have to put it into context that we're fighting with a nation that has a $27 trillion economy, and our exports are about $400 or $500 billion. So proportionately, they can weather it more than we can. When our economy is a fraction of theirs, it's a much larger hit on our side. And if we were to add 25% tariffs across the board on everything coming across the border, then that's going to hurt Canadian consumers when we're right in the middle of an affordability crisis. So I would say our better strategy is to lead with the areas of common ground. Identify the issues that they care about. They've told us it's border security. They've told us it's our NATO commitment. They've told us they don't want Canada to be a backdoor for China to bring cheap products into the American market. Let's address those things. And then let's get back to talking about the very strong trade relationship that we have. And I think that is, we should be making a full court press on that. The president gave us an advance warning of what's coming, but that also gives us an advanced amount of time to be able to address it. And so that's what I'm trying to do by making sure that we've got the resources available to do our part to defend the border, as well as to make sure that they understand just how important energy is to meet their security and affordability needs.
Okay. Well, in that clip, you'll see everything I saw, right? You saw the camera angle just a little higher, so it looks in like you saw the makeup that she does. She did it with the extra here on the side like this, which makes it look like gives her a little bit of a sad panda look. These are all things she thinks. Look, as a PR guy, these are all things that you think about when you're shaping your message. But she lives in media.
Yeah.
So she's thought about these things. I guess. So she seems to have moved away from I'm not sure that Justin Trudeau is strong enough to do this, but she's still like at the same time she's saying like this. And is that from yesterday or is that from earlier?
10th.
That's the 10th. No, 2 days ago. Okay. So again, right? And all the things she's saying are true here.
Oh, yeah.
The United States is a bigger country. They can weather impacts more. We'd have to have an all-court all hands on deck team approach, whatnot. But then the problem with when people say that is that if you don't agree on who's leading the team, we all need to act like Doug Ford. We all need to act like a team and like this. But you think that you're the coach,
the team captain, the general manager. It's just
the accountant, but he thinks he's the team. So it's like we all need to, with the guy, if the person saying that we all need to act like a team is also acting like the team leader, what he's really saying, or what she's really saying is, you all need to follow my lead.
Yeah.
We have one team leader, whether you like him or not.
You rally behind the team captain when you are in a crisis mode. And instead, what are they doing? No, I want to be the captain. 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 Which makes us look weak and pathetic.
While Pierre Poilievre is telling everybody it's the Prime Minister who looks weak. The Prime Minister has said very few words about this while everyone else is running their mouth.
Yeah.
He gets it. They don't. And here's the thing, the fact that the right strategy, as Evan Scrimshaw said, is to do nothing. until there's actually something real on the table. Prepare
He's
all the
not-
contingency stuff in the background.
He's not in
but
office yet.
do and say nothing. This creates a vacuum, which leaves all this space for them to come in and fill up the airspace with words.
Idiots
So
are
many
getting
words.
sucked into his vortex of stupidity. Because, again, Trump will say and do whatever he wants, but he's not the president yet. He's not in power yet.
Yes, and you know that they don't have the words to say because you saw Doug Ford's hockey answer. You're filling in the void with so many words, and you don't have the words with which to fill in the void.
Yeah.
This cannot possibly succeed. It's like, who is the guys in the back room? Okay, well, here's like the prime minister can't say anything, so this creates an opportunity for us to grab the spotlight. But we don't have a message.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter. Take the spotlight. But if I take the spotlight and I don't have a message, eventually the spotlight is going to shine on the fact that I'm in the spotlight a lot saying nothing. That's okay, so long as you get camera time and they're talking about you. It's like, please game out your move. At least one move further down the line. I'm going to go to the mic and tell them, say right now, like this, what's the third strongest card I have in my hand? We'll cut off electricity. So there, don't you dare think about that as I wave my finger condescendingly at you.
Well, who was it pointed out in the chat earlier that doing so, if he cuts off the electricity supply to Michigan, could be considered an act of war by military bases.
Right?
In Michigan. So it's like Doug didn't think this out. He just spoke.
It sounds good. I look tough.
And doesn't care. He's just going to say stuff to try and look strong and tough. And all he does is damage Team Canada. Not to mention the fact that he basically declared war.
But it's like I said there, it's like he's got the soundtrack in my head. It's like, look at me, Lee, watch me, I'm leading. Mom, you watch, I'm leading. Watch me lead now. Is it good? Can I have a cookie now?
We got to wrap up, sir. We got to wrap up here.
Premiers, please shut up. Please shut up, premiers. All right, kids and cubs, we have a show.
We do. My beloved wants to say a few words, so hang on. You got to lean into the mic so you're in camera.
Hi. I just wanted to say that Lola is begging to go outside. I love you guys, and all of my technical stuff is broken. All of it. So I'm going to spend the day doing that. And this is hilarious. I hope this, because we want to end on a happy note. I said, what I'm grateful for is I have 2 lovely children. And I showed this to Paul, and he's like, "You have 2 chickens?" I'm like, "No, I don't have chickens. I have children."
Well, the handwriting looked like chicken to me.
I have 2 children. He's like, "Chickens?" I'm like, "No." A lovely warm home. I have clean water. Okay, thank you, Snuggles. I also thought today was Friday, so I'm just like, this is where I'm rolling from. I have 2 lovely children, not chickens. A warm home, a Paul and a Lola. I know.
I'm so sorry.
You make my day every day. I'm like, none of what you said makes sense.
I should not be laughing. I'm so sorry.
I'm like, I'd like some chickens, but I don't have chickens. I have children.
Okay, you're screaming.
Oh, yeah, that's screaming. Anyway, I'm like, I have children. I do not have chickens. Oh,
I have 2 thoughts right now going through my head. The first one is, I feel like chicken tonight, like chicken tonight. And the second one is, oh my God, you're the chicken lady from Kids in the Hall.
If you want me to do a chicken dance, I'm from Kitchener-Waterloo. Like, let's go. Let's go then. Do this.
Okay, we're not doing that.
Okay.
We're not doing that.
I had 2 chickens. I just think of that's it. For me, it was the funniest skit ever on Kids in the Hall was when you went on the date with the chicken lady.
You know, other than the one where they do the like fork cut over the eye, like
Oh,
you're in
yes.
jail. You're in jail. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Like, okay, I'm in jail. So, thank you.
Okay. We
Thank
need
you
to go before
for
Mr. Grizzly
allowing me
decides to
be-
crush our heads.
Oh, I will crush your head.
Mwah. Lovely to see you, my dear.
Yeah, love you. Bye.
Mademoiselle Fox, everyone. Okay, that's the end of our show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring, and word of mouth is priceless. So, tell your peeps and poops all about us. Gotcha. There.
You crush my head.
I'm crushing your head.
I have a headache.
Feel me crush you. Okay. Because democracy is something that you do. No, sorry. I skipped right through. If you do not want to miss an episode, you don't have to, thanks to the Ray Girl, who sponsors our pod page. Podpage.com/The True North Eager Beaver, lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words. And if you go there or scan that QR code that Mr. Grizzly, I'm sure, will make appear, that brings you to a page where there's a little button that says subscribe. And when you do that, the podcast version of our show comes directly to you. You don't even have to go and look for it. Right there. So why not join? Because, I mean, do you really want to go a day without Beaver? It's an askable question. So, if you if you would like to support us in other ways, make like Kit Elaine and surf yourself on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page where we have our buttons like, share, and subscribe. We're just begging for you to click on them. So, I mean, give them what they want and get us a little happy along the way. Thank you so much. And if you would like to support us in other ways, well, we actually have a tip jar there. So, because, it costs a little bit to bring the show to you. And if you would like to help us underwrite those costs, we would be, well, much obliged for your generosity. So the QR code that has just appeared will bring you to our coffee page. And if you are listening, that's coffee spelled ko-fi.com/ com. Yes, I said that. ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase letters, all in one word. And there you will find a little tip jar where, if you like what we do and you would like to encourage us to do more, you see value in our product, well, you can leave a little something to buy Mr. Grizzly a cup of coffee or me a cup of hot chocolate to say, attaboys, good job. And we appreciate everything that you do.
I needed to pay my rent.
You got to shake it more, Mr. Grizzly, if you're paying rent.
Angry Speed.
I'll shake it for you. There you go.
OnlyFans page may be coming soon.
Shake it. Hang on. Like that? There you go. Some of that too. There you go. A little shoulder pop. There you go. So help us. It is very appreciated when you do. Now, if you're not able to help us financially, come on. No worries. It's not a problem. Because the gifts of your attention and participation are the ones that matter the most to us. And we love to hear from you. So please write to us. TrueNorthEagerBeaver@gmail.com is our email address. And remember, also have our challenge to you, our listeners, to submit your ideas for what you think are for international, national, provincial, and local, your biggest stories of the year, who are the biggest players, who are the biggest disappointments, that type of stuff. Send us your thoughts so that we can prepare our year-end shows and include some of your views in it as well. All right. So send that to TrueNorthEagerBeaver@gmail.com. And then in the header, just put a year-end or review or something like that. And Mr. Grizzly will know to send those to me. And he won't have to read through all of them. He'll just be able to tell from the title. Yep. There we go. To save him some time and a little bit of efficiency there. All right. And do write at least your first name, Kit something, and where you're from. So that we can give everybody an idea that where everything comes from. So hopefully you will participate. And if you don't have one for everything, if you just have like what your biggest story of the year is, then just send that, right? But to send us your thoughts. All right, that will help us very, very much, and we appreciate your participation. You can also write to us at True Eager, both on Blue Sky and on the Zir, and you can also go to our original site on the web, which is our Facebook page, True North Eager Beaver. That's where our blog page originated when we started about 10 years ago. So it's been a while. And if you would like to communicate with us in yet another way, if you're watching us on YouTube, right down below in the comment section, leave us a little something, and we will definitely read that too. Thank you. All your comments help make our show better, because democracy is something that you do, kids and cubs. Remember, Cloverdale, Langley City, British Columbia. In 4 days now, your federal by-election will be taking place. So please do what you need to do there. If you are a fan of the Liberal Party, it pretty much doesn't look like that's going to go their way already. So yeah, just so you know. And it's been like that from the beginning. It seems that it's the Surrey area which just flipped conservative majorly provincially. So it's a tougher road to hoe for the Liberal candidate. That doesn't mean suppress your vote or don't go. Do go, but just have some realistic expectations that it might not be the result that you want, and that we're going to hear another couple of days of narrative about how Justin Trudeau needs to go because nobody wants to vote for him anymore, and blah 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 and whatever. Like, that's the predicted stuff. Those narratives are going to come. So just brace for that and let the storm wash over you. And if you are in Alberta, Lethbridge West, December 18th, 2 days later, is the provincial by-election. So do that. And because, of course, we are in the holiday and giving season, the other day we asked you to see if you might want to volunteer someplace where they might be serving food or preparing meals. Yesterday we asked you to give a thought for people who might be unhoused and to write a letter. Today, if you have the inkling or the inclination, maybe participate in something for the kids, like if there's a Toy Mountain drive or something of the sort, or a shoebox drive, or Plan Canada often asks for donations around this time of year for to help the world, and some of those projects have matching dollars associated with them, so you can get more bang for your buck. But have a thought for some children who might be less fortunate, kids that might be in hospital, maybe, for example, and could use a stuffed toy for comfort. But if there's something that you can do to make a kid's festive season a little brighter, well, try that. All right? It can be a tough world out there, kids and cubs. Hopefully we gave you a couple of laughs today to get you on your day, because the news sometimes can be a little heavy. But be kind to and gentle with yourself. And if you need to unplug now and then for a couple of days, or like I said, step out of the relay every now and then to get some rest, do so. We'll run with the baton for a while, and then when you're ready, come back and join us. Mr. Grizzly, do you have some words of wisdom?
Not really. I'm kind of void right now. I'm just void right now. I'm tired.
Sometimes you got nothing.
That's one of these weeks, I think. I've got nothing.
Here are your words of wisdom. Kids, sometimes you got nothing. Surrender to it. There you go. See, accidental words of wisdom. You get everything on the show. Mr. Grizzly, please cue the cock. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right. Do you have Easter egg, Mr. Grizzly? Because I do.
I do. I'm just going to show you this.
Oh, God. You look so discouraged.
You ever want to reach through the screen and just shake somebody?
Yes.
Here we go.
Every damn day.
Do you believe Catholic
Oh, not him.
hospitals should be forced against their will to provide euthanasia to their patients? Do you believe that doctors and nurses should be coerced under the threat of losing their jobs to provide euthanasia or make referrals for euthanasia? This is a reality.
I'm sorry, I just can't stomach that, man.
No more. Yeah, he's on this. He's on this whole Christians are the most persecuted group in the world thing. This is like third or second thing in the last few days where all these things. Yeah.
The website is protectchristianscanada.com. Protect them from what? From what? Protect us from what?
Okay. I have not been a particularly good Christian. Especially lifestyle-wise, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But I've never felt depressed in my Christianity, as little as I practice it. But this is not a thing, man. This is not a thing. All right. A little bit of shout outs to some kits here. I saw somewhere in the chat, but I couldn't tell who it was, achieved their second level black belt. So I assume that might be Kit Cassie. So if that is whoever that is, congratulations. Nice achievement. Tim, I saw you in the chat today, Kit Tim McCaffrey, and was wondering how your job interview went. So if you got any news on that, please let us know. And Kit Frankie put up a very, very lovely Christmas tree the other day. And that's tastefully decorated, I have to say. So and he shared that, so that was nice. Since the couple of moments of the show have been a little heavy, I thought I would end with 2 dad jokes for you. And these ones are actually not from the book, but from some mates at the curling club. So the first one was, did you hear about the guy who got in a terrible accident and lost the left side of his body?
No.
Oh, he's all right now.
Oh.
And did you hear about the ballet critic who showed up to review the latest show?
No, I didn't.
She was disappointed with the turnout.
Oh, no, we're out of here. We're out of here.